There are moments in life that slam into your chest so suddenly that the world seems to tilt. Moments that write themselves into your memory with a force you never asked for but somehow desperately needed. It happened to Daniel Turner on an ordinary Tuesday morning, in the fluorescent hum of a grocery store that smelled faintly of cold fruit and disinfectant. He was leaning over his cart, fixing the strap of his daughter Lily's little shoe, when a small voice behind him tugged the air still. The voice belonged to a girl no older than 7, her bright eyes fixed on his forearm. She reached out with the innocence and boldness only children possess and pointed at the faded blue ink on his skin. She said her mother had the same tattoo, the same rare constellation of stars arranged in a pattern that was meaningful only to a handful of people. The world, for a split second, seemed to fall silent, as if the store itself was holding its breath. If you believe in kindness, in healing, and in second chances, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to the channel. It truly helps keep stories like this alive. The tattoo had always been Daniel's quiet wound, a reminder of a life that had fractured in slow motion. He had gotten it at 21 with the woman he thought he would grow old with, a woman named Marissa, with wild laughter and eyes full of electricity. They called it their North Star map, a strange poetic design of interconnected stars that symbolized guiding each other home, no matter how dark the night. But life was sometimes cruel in ways that could not be undone. The year after their daughter was born, Marissa had disappeared into a storm of postpartum depression and untreated anxiety that swallowed her whole. One day she kissed Lily's forehead, whispered that she loved her, and left a note that said she needed time to breathe. That was 5 years ago, and not a single trace of her had surfaced since. Not a call, not a letter, just silence. So when the little girl in the store said her mother had the same tattoo, something old and buried inside Daniel jolted awake. He stared at the child, then at the woman approaching from the cereal aisle with a stressed expression and a cart squeaking in protest. She must have been the mother. Tall, tired, wearing a loose sweater and carrying the look of someone balancing too many responsibilities at once. But when she came close enough for him to see her face clearly, his lungs froze. It wasn't her. It wasn't Marissa. She was a stranger, her face softer, rounder, older in different ways. And yet the small girl insisted about the tattoo. The woman apologized, explaining that the tattoo belonged to the girl's biological mother, a woman she no longer kept in contact with. She said she adopted the child's care after a complicated custody situation. There was no reason this stranger's life should connect to his, but somehow it did. For days afterward, Daniel couldn't shake the encounter. The way the little girl had looked at his tattoo wasn't just curiosity, it was recognition, a deep, certain recognition. Kids sometimes said odd things, sure, but there was something in her tone that lingered. He tried to brush it off, bury it under work and parenting, but at night when Lily fell asleep clutching her stuffed rabbit, he would sit on the edge of her bed and trace the tattoo absent-mindedly, feeling a storm brewing inside that he couldn't explain. Life as a single father had been both a blessing and a battlefield. He worked 2 jobs, warehouse shifts at night and deliveries during the day, pushing through exhaustion that clung to him like a second skin. Yet every time Lily giggled or wrapped her small arms around his neck, he felt anchored again. Still, deep in the quiet hours, guilt gnawed at him. He questioned whether he had failed Marissa somehow, whether he could have saved her if he had seen the signs more clearly, if he had listened harder, held on tighter. The tattoo on his arm often felt like a reminder of that guilt, a symbol of something he couldn't fix. A week after the grocery store encounter, fate decided to tighten its grip. It happened at the community park. Daniel had taken Lily there on his one free afternoon, determined to give her something resembling a normal childhood memory. The sun was warm, the trees humming with wind, and Lily's laughter echoed across the playground. While Daniel sat on a bench watching her, he noticed the same little girl from the grocery store climbing the jungle gym. The same caretaker woman sat nearby, flipping through papers with a weary look. This time, it wasn't the child who approached first. The woman looked up, recognized Daniel, and offered a tired smile. She said the little girl, whose name was Aria, had been talking about him all week, insisting that his tattoo matched her mother's in a way that wasn't just similar, it was identical. The woman explained that Aria had been placed in her care after her biological mother vanished. Social workers only told her that the mother had a history of emotional instability and past trauma. No one knew what became of her. Daniel felt something cold trickle down his spine. He asked for the biological mother's name, almost afraid to hear it. When the woman said the name, Marissa Clover, The world collapsed inward. The sky, the playground, the laughter, everything blurred. Daniel felt like the ground had shifted under his feet. It wasn't possible. It couldn't be. But it was. The tattoo, the disappearance, the timelines, the little girl's age, it all aligned like pieces of a puzzle he didn't know existed. He had another daughter. Arya, the girl with the bright eyes and soft smile, was his child too. It struck him like lightning. Marissa hadn't just run from him, she had been running from herself, from the version of her life she couldn't survive, and somehow, somewhere along the way, she had given birth. Again, but the weight of her struggles had made her disappear from that child's life as well. The caretaker woman, her name was Evelyn, was gentle and honest. She said she had no idea that the girl's unknown father might still be alive and looking for answers. She had assumed he was either absent by choice or simply unreachable, as was common in the tangled custody cases she often took in. When she learned the truth, she looked horrified to realize she had unknowingly stumbled into the middle of a family torn apart by pain. In the days that followed, an emotional storm ripped through Daniel's life. He met with caseworkers, answered questions, filled out forms, underwent evaluations. He was determined to bring Arya home, not out of pity or obligation, but because something in him had awakened when she pointed at his tattoo. Something ancient and primal, the instinct of a father finally realizing the size of the empty space he didn't know he had. But it wasn't easy. Caseworkers needed proof, documentation, stability. They needed reassurance that he could care for 2 children while working 2 jobs. They asked about his past, about Marissa, about the instability of their final months together. He answered everything honestly, even when the memories burned like open wounds. He explained the nights spent listening to Marissa cry silently beside him, the mornings she couldn't get out of bed, the way she clung to him with shaking hands saying she felt like she was drowning. He told them how helpless he felt, how lost he had been, how much he wished he had known more back then. Weeks passed. Tension carved itself into his shoulders. Lily asked why Daddy looked tired again, and he would lift her in his arms, kiss her forehead, and tell her sometimes grown-ups had mountains to climb too. Arya, meanwhile, began spending supervised visits with him at the park, and every time she saw him, she ran into his arms with the trust of someone who had found something she didn't know she had lost. The first time she called him Dad, not Daniel, not Mr., but Dad, his heart cracked open. He held her tight, his throat burning, and promised himself silently that he would never, ever let her feel abandoned again. The caseworker eventually called. Her voice softened as she said the words he had been praying for. He was approved for full custodial rights of Arya. She explained that Evelyn would remain part of Arya's support network, but Arya was going home, her real home, with her real father, with her sister. The day Arya officially joined their household, Daniel stood in the doorway watching the 2 girls decorate their shared room. Lily was placing stickers on the dresser. Arya was arranging stuffed animals. They worked together as if they had always been a team, giggling as if the world had never been broken. He stepped back, leaning against the wall, overwhelmed by a wave of gratitude that brought tears to his eyes. Life had taken so much from him, but now, miraculously, it had given part of it back. There was still pain, still unanswered questions. He didn't know where Marissa was, or if she was alive, or if she would ever come back. He didn't know if he would ever forgive her or fully understand the storms she battled. But he did know one thing. He would honor her memory by loving both of their daughters fiercely, relentlessly, completely. And in the quiet moments, when the girls slept peacefully in their beds, he would trace the tattoo on his arm, the constellation of stars, and feel something new beneath the old ache. Not grief, not guilt, but purpose. The tattoo no longer symbolized a promise broken, it symbolized the path that led him to his daughters. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that life can surprise us with healing in the most unexpected ways, please like the video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who might need hope today, and consider subscribing to the channel. Your support means more than you know. Before you go, tell us in the comments, what part of this story moved you the most?